86. Woo!
Welcome to the Kayak Bass Connection podcast. We're the official podcast of the Southern Illinois Kayak Club Bass Tournament Trail. So I'm your host, Jared. Tonight we are launching our third season. It's unbelievable. We're on our third season of covering the tournament trail. The official 2025 trail just launched this last weekend on March 29th, and we're going to do a recap. We've got some of our top finishers with us tonight, as well as the winner of that tournament. So these anglers, we had the Southern Illinois Classic, the SIKC Classic, which is the best of the best from the finishing of last year's anglers. So literally we had, I think it was 16 anglers that showed up for this tournament and battled it out. And I'm lucky that I have some of the best finishers here with me tonight. So in first place from Pekin, Illinois, we've actually got, can I just call you the Queen of Cedar Lake? Is that
Sure.
right? The captain of Cedar Lake. She's also tournament director of the Kayak Bass League and now our 2025 SIKC Classic Champion, Susie Roloff. Welcome back, Susie.
Thanks. Glad to be here, guys.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, not able to join us was second place, Brady Barlow. Brady had 78.75 inches. He had some work commitments, couldn't be here tonight, so we want to congratulate him on his great performance.
Heck yeah.
He also had one heck of a big fish there. Not the biggest fish, but very close. He had a 21.25-inch bass that he weighed during the day, so that's way to go there, which I didn't mention. Susie's final length, what was it, Susie? I don't seem to have it down here. 82 inches, all right.
Even, yeah.
Yeah, 82. So our second place was 78.75. And in third place, at the end of the day, was our defending angler of the year, Illinois native Dalton Williams. Dalton has been on the podcast quite a bit because he just keeps finishing in the top three all the time. So congratulations again, Dalton. And of course, we always welcome our tournament director, Josh Lincoln, to the podcast. But tonight there's a little extra special reason. He actually took home the Big Bass Award during this tournament with a 21.5-inch monster from Cedar Lake. So what a fantastic job, Josh.
Heck yeah. Always happy to be here. Always happy to talk fishing, and I love talking Cedar Lake.
Oh yeah, Cedar Lake is a storied lake, right? Especially in this tournament club. I bet if you pooled a lot of the members, this is probably going to be their favorite lake. I know you travel, Susie. You travel quite a ways to Cedar, and this is your back-to-back win, right? At Cedar, because you win the last tournament there as well.
I not only won, I broke a couple of records, personal record and the longest length record for the club, 101.25 inches. I had 3 20-plus inch fish that day, and it was raining, so yeah.
Yeah, I remember those. I'll have to look up the episode and link them at the end of this one. But there was some classic video that you shot of the rain. It was awesome. Yeah. And your excitement and your busting 100. It was an incredible video.
So my question, Susie, is back-to-back wins on Cedar, back-to-back times it was raining. If we hold the next tournament on Cedar and it's not raining, are you even showing up?
Well, heck yeah, I am. I'll make a sacrifice to the weather gods if I have to.
Okay.
So you brought up a good point about the conditions. So did any of you pre-fish the day before? I was watching the weather down there, and there was some serious wind the day before. Now you're in a Hobie, but you've got a motor, right?
Mm-hmm. I was still off the water by noon.
Really?
Yeah. Those 35-mile-an-hour gusts, that was not fun.
Yeah, that's no fun. That has no fun at all.
It's very serious when you're out there, especially Main Lake, and that wind's blowing like that.
Yeah. So what kind of effect do you think that weather the day before might have had on the tournament? Because let's face it, you look at our numbers, and you guys caught some awesome fish. The numbers were not like we are typically that we see from Cedar Lake. So did that weather the day before have anything to do with that, you think?
I'm sure it did. I talked with a couple other anglers that actually fished that Friday before, that had practice days that would have easily won our tournament. So I'm not sure what it did specifically to the fish to shut them down, but the bite was definitely, for me, it was slow most of the day until the end when it really started raining steady.
Hey, good news. Brady's texting me. He's trying to get online now. So let me see if I can help him get in there.
Little.
I'll go.
So what happened with the weather on the day of the tournament? What kind of conditions did you guys have?
Overcast, wind, rain, off and on, annoying, misty rain. Not quite exactly like Cedar last year. Lots of different variables this year. Um, Pre-fishing the day before, the weather was different, even though it was windy, the sun was still out. And then having the overcast and kind of rainy weather on that Saturday, I think it definitely affected the bite in a sense. Pre-fishing, I had a little bit of a pattern figured out, but then it definitely changed for tournament day.
This is a different time of year, obviously, than the last time that you had a big wind there. So how was the pattern any different this time that you ran into?
This time of year with the water temps being, I think they were like 57, 58. Was it June? I think the first weekend in June last year, something like that. It was probably 70s, so a big temperature difference. I tried a little bit of everything, both pre-fishing and tournament day. I was trying to throw, the classic winner, the jackhammer, which is what I wanted on last year, but I couldn't get anything to bite on that. Pre-fishing, I got, quite a few on a jig, and then I got some on a jerk bait. So I thought, okay, I'll have the jerk bait as my kind of backup. And tournament day, I was throwing the jig, wasn't really getting anything on that. I was throwing the jerk bait. I don't even know, like maybe 15, 20 fish that were less than 12 inches long. I was getting mad. I was like, okay, like let's catch some bigger fish now. And I saw them busting at the top, chasing shad. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to try something a little different. I had tied on the Alabama rig the night before because, with colder waters and stuff like that. I was like, I'm going to try a little something different. And it was game on as soon as I started throwing that.
Heck yeah.
Now, how did you deal with because typically the Alabama rig has how many baits on it? I mean, how many baits did you have at once? Oop. Hey, Brady.
Sometimes
He's
it depends.
trying to pop in here.
Brady! There
Hey,
he
there
is.
Hey, glad you got to join us. Welcome out. We're live recording, so congratulations on the great finish, Brady.
Yep, thank you.
Glad you're able to join us. We were just talking about the weather that we encountered and the difficult fishing that a lot of y'all encountered during the day on tournament days. How was it? Did you have any idea how your success was going to come tournament day, or did you just go in blind?
I went blind. We typically always go blind. Yeah, with work schedule, we don't get to pre-fish or anything, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I rarely get to pre-fish anymore. Sometimes I struggle when I do pre-fish because I find a pattern on the day before and then I like stick to it so much on that next day and it doesn't work and I'm hesitant to change instead of just fishing the moment, like when you show up blind.
Yeah, that's why I don't pre-fish, because if that happened to me, I'm like, never again. Am I pre-fishing again?
So do you think that goes back to that mental part that Josh and I were talking offline a little bit about, is that when you go into that day and you think, well, this worked yesterday, it's going to work today. You think you're stuck on that technique, or?
Yeah, for sure. At least I'm personally. But that can even happen during tournament day. So like on the big fish I caught on a crankbait in timber, it took me 4 hours to catch that fish. And then once I finally did, I thought, oh man, this is it. I'm gonna stick with this. And then I spent the next 2 hours fishing the same conditions, throwing that crankbait in the same areas with nothing to show for it. And then when I finally made a decision to adapt and change, that's when I started catching fish again.
So what kind of indicators do you guys all have that you need to do something different? And can you give us an example of when you ran a situation where something wasn't working and something just made you decide to change?
If I don't catch a fish in 3 hours, go tour like a finesse. That's what I usually do.
I'll be honest, I wasn't really catching. I got that one fish on that. What was it? Chatterbait. And I seen after that I was not getting anything, and then I seen some guys on a boat throwing a fluke, and I seen them catching them. I was like, you know what? I'm switching to a fluke.
Oh, that's nothing wrong using what you're seeing, right?
Yep,
Nothing wrong with
right
that at
place at
all.
the right time, I guess.
That's the
Yeah.
best
But
intel you can get.
Yeah.
I put a little nail weight in the head of it, and just to make it sink just a little faster, and I was catching them left and right. So
Did you run into any shorts? I know Susie said she caught a bunch of short fish.
yeah, I only called 2 of my fish, but I caught quite a few shorts for sure. Yep.
So does anybody have a rule that if they go, say, 30 minutes without catching anything or any bites, they're going to move or change where they're concentrating their efforts at?
Sometimes
Maybe move up or down the water column?
sometimes my general rule of thumb is, I always like to try to read the water and try to see like what's going on, like with birds and stuff like that. So like if I see birds coming in and diving down, hitting the water, then I know there's some bait fish kind of closer to the surface. If I see fish busting at the surface as well, that kind of tells me what they're doing, whatnot. If I don't see anything going on the surface, I'm going to kind of be looking at my graph, seeing where they might be hanging out. Are they towards the top? Are they middle? Are they kind of hovering on the bottom? Just trying to, look at all the different factors that I can see and then just kind of, go from there.
Yeah, I just actually finished reading a book that was called Reading Water, and it actually was written in Europe, so that a lot of what they talk about as far as plants and things like that weren't applicable here. But it was 350 pages about how to look at water and what to tell about what's going on under the water, and a lot of that is just as you're talking about. You look at the interaction with the other fish that you may see, bait, birds, plants, different way the wind affects the water. So definitely your circumstances change from minute to minute. That's Josh, you mentioned a while ago, fish the moment, right?
And I think sometimes, depending on how well you know the lake or the body of water that the tournament's on, if you know it really well, then making those decisions is probably easier because you're like, okay, well, I know this lake. I know I can probably go over to this spot and drag a jig, or I know I can go over to this spot and I've always caught them in this timber versus a lake that you don't know as well. I'm at least more hesitant to make that decision of like, oh, I'm going to go and try this. I'm just kind of going with what I feel, and that may not be working.
See, I'm not a jig person, but last year me and Corey was on our way back, and we ran into Darren and James, and they was throwing a jig, and they said there's brush piles, so I put a pin down, and then this year this last tournament I went back to that, and first cast with a jig. I'm not lying, and I hate throwing jigs. First cast with a jig, and I pulled a 15 something off of it.
There you go.
Heck
So
yeah.
and I cannot stand fishing jigs because it's just too slow. But
Could you? I know you have.
Do what?
I know you have a live scope on your kayak. When you threw at that brush pile, could you see the fish on there? And did you like see him on the scope or?
I didn't even use my live scope.
Okay.
It was on, but I didn't even use it. Yep, I just on my graph, I aligned myself up with that pinpoint, and I casted to it, hoping I was on it, and I guess I was. I don't know.
Can't argue with the results.
No. Something was right. Now, Josh, you just got a live scope unit, didn't you? I mean, have you been able to put it in the field yet? Or?
I put it in the field one time, and I definitely hats off to everybody that uses those successfully. It's not as easy as everybody makes it look.
It's definitely not.
But I didn't bring it to this tournament, and I probably won't bring it to the first couple tournaments, just because I feel like it's more of a distraction as of this point until I really master that. But who knows? Maybe I'll bring it and just kind of like have a rule of not turning it on until after I get my limit of fish and go from there.
I've brought it to every tournament, and I've probably only caught not even a handful of fish off of it. Being dead serious. I mean, it's hard.
What kind of system do you have, Brady?
Huh?
What kind of system do you live scope?
It's the LVS 34. It's just,
That is Garmin, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and I've also had a problem with if I shine the live scope, like say I find a school of fish, it happened at Cedar actually. The fish will scatter to the bottom as soon as that beam hits them.
Really?
I've had it. I've had it a couple times. Do what?
I've heard from other people as well that they think the fish react to that beam.
Yeah, man, it was weird though. As soon as I found it was like a school, like 5 of them, and then as soon as that beam came on them, I came back to them, they just scattered to the bottom. It was definitely weird. It could have just. It's happened a couple times. I'm not like so. To me, it just seems like that's what it was.
Now, when you got your almost big bass of the tournament, right? You're just shy of the big one that Josh got.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
You don't.
I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Josh was talking about it. Maybe you mentioned it already. You want to tell us what you caught him on?
The big bass of the tournament, or Brady or me?
Both of you.
Go
I'll
ahead,
let
Josh.
Brady go first.
All right, Brady.
What was it? What was it? Electric chatterbait.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was either that or black and blue. Pretty sure it was electric chatterbait with the freeloader. And I feel like it was just luck. I mean, I was getting ready to pull the lure up out of the water, and he snagged it. He just came up and whacked it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I love when that happens.
Like if it would have been a set difference, I wouldn't have got it. It was pretty sweet.
Sometimes all it takes is that little bit of luck.
Yep.
It was crazy.
What about you, Josh?
Right on the side, and I ripped it out of the grass, and it was like literally 3 feet off the side of the kayak, and he just.
Did he break the surface when he hit it?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
Did you boat flip him at that point? He was so close.
No, I don't ever boat flip unless
All right.
I get real nervous when I get a decent one on.
Yeah, absolutely. What about yours, Josh?
Mine was, I don't know, want to say luck. It probably was luck. Let's be honest. But I was grinding all day. I was fishing some good spots where I've caught fish before, and eventually I just kind of made that decision of, hey, I'm gonna make a move, and I ran way down into the lake, and I ran into Dustin, and he was like, yeah, you should go back there and fish some timber. I saw some fish on the live scope, but he couldn't get anything to react. He was like, I was throwing finesse, wacky, and they were getting scared off by that. So I was like, maybe I'll go back there and I'll just throw a crankbait through there and see if they react to that, or see if they can't help but react to that. And it was probably about 45 minutes in, and I just threw it across this one piece of timber, and it didn't feel like a big fish. It hit, and I was like, okay, there's a fish, and it felt like a 15 or so inch fish. And as I reached down to net it, I saw how big it was, and I was pretty happy to have a 21.5 inch fish in the boat, because I immediately, when I caught it in the boat, I was like, that was my first fish at almost noon, and I was like, well, I'm not winning this thing, but at least I'm going home with some money. That was my thought. Because I thought, who was going to beat a 21.5 inch fish? And I bet Brady had the same exact thought when he caught a 21.25.
Dude, I did too. I'm trying to see when I caught. So I caught that fish at 9:07. That was my first fish.
Oh,
pretty sure, or maybe my second. Yeah,
and that was your personal best, right? That's what Attorney X has got listed as your personal best, 21.25.
Yeah, in tournaments. Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
I got lucky enough. Do what?
I'll have to give you credit. I love the placement of your band. You literally laid the band, the yellow, the marker band for the tournament, just laid it on the fish on his fin. That's awesome. I've never seen that done.
I wouldn't recommend it to anybody in the club, because that technically could have been
DQ'd.
Could have been DQ'd, yeah.
Bad.
So, Josh, did you judge Brady's fish?
Yes.
What?
You did. What was your heartbeat as soon as you saw how big it was?
Well, it wasn't too bad, because like when I clicked on it, I get to see what he submitted it as first. So I immediately saw that he submitted it as a 21.25, and I was like, all right, I'm not too worried.
See, I couldn't see anything. That's wrong.
Well, Brady, when you want to dedicate hours and hours of time running the tournament, I'll let you do it.
Yeah.
He literally came up there and winked at me. I knew I lost.
It's close. It's close.
Oh well.
Yeah, here
we caught some good fish. That's all that matters.
Here, I'll show you that placement of what not to do. Let's see here. Here you go. It's kind of sideways, but you can see it. right?
Yeah,
It's like a drop the mic moment.
definitely
But,
don't do that.
Yeah, don't do
I
that.
I didn't know. I thought it could be anywhere in the picture.
So,
Nothing but your hand can be touching the fish.
and likewise, I think it was Susie. I saw her pictures. You have the band in this, right? In the plastic sleeve. Was that one of your
I
pictures?
had one in the sleeve, and then I had another one on the board too.
Okay.
I like to have two if I can, but I know if I
Yeah.
put one in the sleeve, I don't have to worry about, making sure that it's in the picture. It's always there.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, that's
I normally put it around the catch board.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
if I've
have
got
one on my
extra, yeah.
wrist, but it was raining and couldn't see the one on my wrist. Oh, it was hovering over the fish, Josh. It wasn't
Yeah, it was just magically
It was
floating.
hovering.
Yeah, no, I won't do that again.
The wind was so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
There goes my second place, Josh.
Well, didn't you say Dalton did the same thing one time?
No, I give Dalton crap because, and I even do it in our like pre-tournament meetings, is you have to have your entire catch board in the frame of the photo. He used to cut off the fence of his board in his photos because he did it for a good reason. He was trying to like really zoom in and get a good quality image of the fish and like where it's hitting, but he was missing like part of that front of that catch board, which could be a denial of fish as well.
Yeah. So here's what I was talking about with what happened to that?
That's my Turning X profile.
It was up there. There it is. You guys see that now? There we go. Okay. Yeah, see we got the yellow band right there. So is that good, Josh? As a tournament director, is that something that lose y'all?
That's
So on difficult days like that, because I mean, obviously, you guys, did any of you come in there thinking this was going to be a typical Cedar tournament where you're going to, have a bag full of 18s and 20s? Was that because
No.
Good.
Listening to other anglers from like the day before or the week before, and they're like, "Oh, we did okay, but not like the typical Cedar." So I kind of knew this tournament's gonna be like, it's gonna be okay, but it's not gonna be like Cedar like when Susie won the one in June, July, somewhere in there.
Blowout, yeah.
I knew it
Yeah.
wasn't gonna be like that.
So this was one of those more difficult tournaments, I would say, especially considering where you're at. So does anybody have any did you have any conversations inside your own head that day on how to proceed when things just aren't going like it usually is when you're around that lake?
I think we all did.
Yep. The mental conversation that I had in my head after I got my sixth fish and then lost my rod and reel setup
Oh.
and my vocal setup, or my vocalness, to everything too, that hurt a lot.
Well, let's put salt in it and tell us what did you lose?
I literally just got this new rod as I did a treat myself for my birthday, and I got a Mega Bass, a Roachy. It's called like the Jabberwock, and it's specifically for jerkbait fishing. Well, if you want to know what that rod price starts at, it's like $3.99, and I'm not talking about $3.99. Yeah, and then I had a Shimano. Which reel did I have on there? I had a Shimano Corrado on there. That one wasn't as bad. That one was only like $150.
Jeez.
I know.
My entire setup's on every rod.
And then I had a Mega Bass jerkbait on there too, so I was just like,
Another
oh
$20.
my God. Like it just, and I was just
All right, so let's learn.
just with the wind. I couldn't keep my spot. And I mean, even with the 360 in the motor, like I was in the weeds. So like before I could even like get myself turned around to look to see where it was was already gone. So I marked a waypoint, and I told people in the Facebook chat and whatnot, I was like, if somebody finds that rod, I will happily pay a reward for that. Because, obviously that's a lot of money right there. And I just got it. I haven't even added a month. I was so sad.
Did he catch a fish on it?
Oh, yeah. I caught like a majority of my fish that day on that one. Like I'd say
At least he caught fish on it.
Yeah. So yeah, I caught maybe, well, I caught a bunch of the short ones on it. That was pissing me off. So then I threw the A rig, which was on a different setup. Then I went back to the jerk bait, and then that's when I got my fifth or my sixth fish, which upgraded me to get me the win. And it was literally, gosh, like 5 minutes after I submitted that is when I lost that rod and reel setup.
How did you?
So I usually have stuff in my crate behind me, and so it mustn't have been in the rod holder just right.
Okay.
And so I was putting a different setup behind back in a different rod holder, and I must have knocked it just right, because then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I just hear bloop, and then like I turn to see which one it is, and I'm like,
Holy my God.
yeah, oh God,
Yeah.
that one hurt a lot. If the water temperatures would have been in the 70s, I would have 100% jumped in after that.
Yeah, 3 feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. It still hurts.
So has any other guys lost anything like that before? I know I've temporarily lost one of my favorite rod and reel. It took me 2 hours, but I got it out. I think that was also at Cedar. I got it out finally with a lure retriever, and I snagged the line. So I pulled in my bait first. I'm like, oh God, please let this work. And pulled in, and it just happened. I'd had the button pushed down when it happened. So I had to pull the entire spool of line in. And then I finally got the rod and reel back, but it was worth it.
Man, really trusting that back knot.
Oh, I was like thinking, man, how did I tie that? Yeah. And it was only like 8-10 pound test, I think. Yeah.
I lost my phone at Newton.
Mm.
I think that was in 2020. And it was like, finally, I've been fishing in all these tournaments. I won at Coffeen, which was a tournament before that. And then I went into Newton and I was having a great day. And I caught a giant fish. I think it was either like an 18 or a 19 late in the day that like pushed me into what I thought was like the lead. So I went on this like super high of like back to back, I'm going to win. And I took the photo of my fish. And then like I was reaching for like my front compartment, and I don't know what happened with my hand and my phone, but I just saw my phone go over the side of the boat and sink to the bottom, and it was in about 5-6 feet of water. And luckily it was a later tournament. I think it was September. And I pulled my kayak up to the shore, and I started swimming for it. And I just kind of like jumped up and down with my feet and kind of made like a grid pattern of where I thought it was. And finally I hit it with my toes. And then I swung down there, grabbed it with my toes, pulled it up. Phone still worked.
Dang.
And I ended up coming in third place in that tournament. Yeah. It was such a big roller coaster of emotions. So thinking like, man, I won a tournament, and then I may go back to back. And it's just like, then it was like, boom, it's instantly gone. I'm not going to win the tournament. I just lost $1,000 phone to the bottom of the lake. It's going to be like that mentality that we were talking about. Like, I could have had the mentality of like, screw this. I'm going to go back to the ramp and just have a bad day about it. But having that right mental attitude and sometimes swimming for it makes up for it, you know?
The only
Yeah, if
other
you're gonna go in
time
after.
that I've lost gear, it wasn't intentional. This was back in, was it 21? I think. Gosh, I can't even remember now. I had a tournament on the Madison chain, and my 360 drive belt happened to just snap, and my pedal drive got stuck in like an awkward position. Well, there was some wind, and I was right next to a cliff wall, so there was tons of boats going too. So there was lots of waves and stuff like that. Well, the reverb off of the cliff wall and the waves from all the boats hit me just right as I'm trying to lean back to grab my paddle. Bloop, whole kayak went over.
Oh, good
I
Lord.
was actually able to retrieve everything after.
What?
You want to talk about bad luck with truck keys?
No.
Oh, yeah, you've had
Those-
issues with those before.
Well, yeah, they've both been found, by miraculous miracles. But yeah, so like, I mean, everything tipped over. Like the whole kayak, the kayak was upside down. But the way that it tipped over is, everything in my crate just, it kind of just followed suit. So like the rods were still in the rod holders, the tackle boxes were still in the crate, and everything is just, upside down. And so, and I was right next to a dock. I was so close to getting to a dock. And that's what made me even more mad. I was like, I was right there by a dock. I shouldn't have flipped over. And so, my next train of thought was like, oh shit, how am I going to manage this by myself? Right. And so I got a majority of my gear pulled out from the kayak. I had like just a pile of crap on this random person's boat dock, trying to get everything pulled up. And then I'm like, where are my truck keys? And so, yeah, yeah. Because like everything was just like in there. I had it in I have like a little bag that velcros to the back of my chair, and the zipper was open just enough to where they fell out. And
No.
so, I'm doing like what Josh was doing. I'm bobbing up and down with my feet. I'm in 6 foot of water. I'm 5'3". So, that was kind of
Full
fun.
commitment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Under the water.
Commitment. And luckily,
Yeah.
this was in June, so like the water was like 80 some degrees, so it wasn't too
Oh, yeah.
bad. So eventually, I was like, you know what? I just need to try to figure something out. And I hear a push mower start up on the lawn of this boat ramp that I was at. So I ran up there and I flagged the dude down. I was like, hey, listen, like I just flipped my kayak and all my gear's at the bottom of the lake. Do you have like goggles or something like that? He brings me out a full snorkel kit, man.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And so then I went swimming. The first thing I found was my
Jeez.
truck keys. This awesome lady. Oh my God, what was her name? I think it might have been Carol. Gosh, I can't remember now. She was just in like a sit-in paddle kayak, just out cruising around, and I flagged her down. I was like, "Would you help me?" And she did, this sweet lady. So like I was diving down, getting all my stuff. My catch board was down there, my keys were down there, some lures and stuff was down there. I broke 3 rod tips just because of when I had to flip the kayak back over. They were like wedged in the weeds. There was no getting around that. But that was definitely a learning experience. And before then, I had lost my phone in Banner Marsh a couple of years before that, and I had my phone on a tether. And of course, it's hanging in the water from the tether
Yeah.
upside down. So, like, that was like the second thing I retrieved, too. I was like, I got to get my phone.
Yeah.
I had that happen to me once too. I had my phone on a tether, and I didn't know that I dropped my phone overboard. And I'm sitting there fishing, and I hear this strange sound. It's like, that's odd. I'm fishing, and I'm thinking that sounds a lot like my phone vibrating. It's about 2 feet underwater vibrating.
Shoot.
I had one bad experience, and I didn't lose anything. But me and Corey went out to coffee and just to fish one time, and it's when I had that 133, that first kayak I had when I started with you guys.
Yeah.
And right outside that boat ramp, it's like 20 foot right there. And I don't know what happened. I put a swivel seat on it, and I turned, and next thing I know, I'm in the water. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I
no.
came back up, and my phone and my keys and my wallet were sitting on the side of the kayak. And I'm like, I come out of the water, and I'm like, just mad. My kayak's still just sitting there floating, just like it should be. I don't know.
It just bucked you off.
I don't know what or how it happened. Like, it literally threw me out of it, and I'm like in 20 foot of water, dude. Yeah, didn't lose anything, luckily, because yeah, it was
What
deep.
about you, Dalton? Have you ever lost anything?
Thankfully, no. But
No.
I'm waiting for it though. I know it's gonna come towards me one day. I'm just dreading it.
Just make sure you got a phone tether.
Yeah, like I have like a band I was gonna do it for, and I bought a phone case with like a hole that you could put like a tether through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't put that on Cedar, so I'm like, I need to do something before.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. You're living on borrowed time.
Uh-huh.
I feel like every good luck is going, and it's just going one day. It's just gonna hammer me.
I just got
the
that
only-
Yak Attack phone holder thing. Yeah, I actually like it a lot.
I bought one of those too. I haven't used it on the water more. I've been on the water once and used it. Yeah, It's going to be interesting to see trying to measure fish with it.
The only negative thing I can say about my phone tether happened at this tournament. It's when you catch a 21.5-inch fish, you can't hold your phone out far enough to get a good selfie.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
that's a good problem
What
to
a-
have, I guess.
Speaking of hammering things, so I want to look at the record that our winner here has, Susie. I was blown away. Got on Tourney X. Check out these stats. Okay, out of 158 tournaments, she has the total length of fish that she's submitted. That's just the one submitted to Tourney X. Is over 10,000 inches, almost 11,000 inches. She's had 13 first place finishes, 9 second place finishes, third place, 8 finishes, and here, this is crazy, top 10 79 times. 79 times.
It's almost 50%, or if not over.
That is incredible. Incredible. So, Susie, I've heard you talk on other podcasts about how you got started in kayak fishing and everything else. Did you ever think that you'd have those kind of stats in this sport?
No. That, I haven't looked at my stats in like a really long time, actually. In the first like 5 years, that I was doing this, I would kind of look at them and whatnot. And then I'd see other people's profiles and, they'd have like 20 first place finishes and whatnot. And I'd just be kind of like, but yeah, it's really interesting just, seeing how things have been going for now over 10 years is how long I've been doing this. So,
Wow, that's
She's
awesome.
on her way to
yeah.
that. What's that big kayak tournament that just happened? The kayak, it's the Classic Bassmaster or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Bassmaster, yeah.
Yeah, you're on your way there.
Yeah.
Have any of you fished any of those Bassmaster events yet?
Not one of those. I fished in a couple Hobies before.
Okay.
Don't you got to qualify for that big tournament?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yeah,
believe
for the
so.
Bassmaster one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised there's not a Bassmaster Club in Illinois, actually, for kayaks. Do you know if there's one in Indiana or not for this Bassmaster Kayak Club? I know they've got several clubs in Indiana that.
I'd be surprised if they didn't, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the parameters are to be a Bassmaster affiliate club type thing. I'd have
I
to
know
look
all your
into
club members also have to be BASS members, so that would be
Mhm.
an additional fee that everybody has to pay on top of their club dues or whatever.
Yeah. And you guys, I think, are pretty much all kayak nerds like I am. And if you look at the scene and what's going on in the kayak fishing tournament scenes, like there's been a lot of changes in the last 6 months. Hobie's pretty much out of the tournament business, it sounds like,
for this year.
for this year anyway. Yeah, the KBF has kind of really taken a step back, it seems, and pretty much Bassmasters has been kind of elevated to the top of the heap as far as the national trails. Now, Susie, I know you had a great finish years ago in the KBF National.
2017, I took 11th place out of 365 anglers.
That's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You want to talk about really not knowing what you were doing? That was definitely one of those days. That was my second year. Yeah, that was my second year in kayak fishing, and being on Kentucky Lake too. I was overwhelmed and I had no idea what I was doing. But I figured it out. I did.
Hey,
Heck yeah.
I figured
that's
it
a powerful.
out.
Just don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
Good
Yep.
things can happen.
And if you have too much stuff all over in your kayak, it's okay to reset, because that's what I did. I mean, I had stuff everywhere.
Just said, let's reassess and
Mhm.
hit the reset button.
Pretty much.
Any of you guys doing the Big Bass 250 this year?
Oh, is that the one that's on down in Missouri?
Yeah, it's on Lake
Ozark.
Ozark. Yeah.
Ozarks,
Ozark.
yeah. I don't even know when it is this year.
October.
It's in the fall.
Take a look.
I was going to say, Jared, that definite transition of less nationwide tournaments, I think that's a big factor into, I mean, take Illinois, for example. we have two bad to the bone grassroots clubs with SIKC and KBL that are just super awesome. And I think a lot of people are staying home nationwide and just really fishing their grassroots clubs. And I don't think we're alone in the state of Illinois. I think a lot of these other states, Indiana, Michigan, that we fish with, Moyak, for example, they are just creating some awesome series in our own states, which I think helps with all.
Well, you got more local control that way. You can customize what you're offering to what best fits your anglers, your bodies of water, right? So anybody any final thoughts about the big event in Cedar? We kind of bounced around a little bit in our conversations, but when you look forward to Caffeine coming up, so we got Caffeine. What is it? April 12th, I think it is. They'll be here before you know it. Now it's no longer it's a fresh season, but you've got one tournament under your belt. Now that many of your competitors at Caffeine, weren't able to fish this last tournament. So how did Cedar help prepare you for the next tournament?
I would say if there's anybody listening and they need that one little piece of advice on, especially since mentality, that's kind of been the theme of what we've been talking about tonight, is don't give up. So for me, an example at the Classic here, I caught my first fish at 11:37. I got it all written out here. Caught my first fish at 11:37. Kept fishing. Didn't have anything happen to me. And then I caught my second fish at 1:15. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's keep grinding. I got a little bit longer to go. Caught my third fish at 1:37. Caught my fourth fish at 1:44. And I caught my fifth fish at 1:56. And I had lines out was 2:30, but I had to leave at like 2:10 because I was still 2.5 miles away from the ramp. So I literally fished till the last minute, and I just kept telling myself, is like, okay, I caught one, and then I was like, okay, if I can catch two more, because I knew everybody else was kind of struggling. I had that big fish, and I was like, okay, one more, this could be interesting, one more. And that's what I kind of told myself. I was like, in that last fish, I was like, if I can find this fish, I will definitely be in the mix. And sure enough, was right in fourth place, just a half an inch away from being in third.
And you got your fifth fish within 10 minutes of half in the jet, right? So
yeah,
that's incredible.
And I was bad, and I apologize to everybody there. Usually I'm a good tournament director, and I'm back before everybody else, and I get things set up. And I think I was the very last person back that day, battling the wind out on the main lake, trying to get back in time. So my apologies to everybody. I'll be more professional at Caffeine.
We'll allow it.
I do that more often.
See, that's what's crazy though. Like, I caught my last keeper at like 11:50. After that, I caught nothing but shorts, and you still like. Actually, the bite really died off. Like, I wasn't even getting nothing.
See, I think if the bite would have, or if the tournament would have gone another hour, I really like my chances of holding the check.
Yeah, it sounded like you figured something out there in the last hour or so of the tournament.
Yeah, I had that thought of what would Darren do, and I started throwing Nico worm and started catching them.
Which he showed up.
Yeah.
Hey, after turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I want to congratulate everybody. All four of you had fantastic days. We faced some difficult conditions, but you overcome it. Especially you, Susie, with being a back-to-back winner. Man, that's incredible. And you were fishing against the best of what SIK has to offer down there. Those are some really good fishermen. So congratulations to all of you, and I hope to see you guys all back here in the next couple of weeks. We have 6 tournaments laid out during the whole year, as well as a multi-species tournament. So hopefully we'll see you all back. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So all right, stay on just a moment. We'll make sure we got everybody.